Hey-ya!
Legend of Zelda is known for a lot of things. Awesome gameplay, incredible game design, storylines, character development, and, of course, the music. In this video, I'm focusing on the music throughout the Zelda series. We'll be going through the music in a timeline order, starting with original Legend of Zelda. The original Legend of Zelda came out in 1986. At the time, Nintendo was limited by the amount of resources and the knowledge of electronics, but they did really well. Even though the original Zelda game doesn't have much of a storyline to it, and you really just go around killing everything and somehow figuring out where all these secret caves are, the music in this game is really base layer, but still has recognizable tunes. This game has 21 tunes total. That's if you're including the sounds that play when going down some stairs, when a boss dies, or even the sword beam and the key. The songs used in this game are known and recognizable. The obvious one being the main theme. While it is not called the main theme in this game, you can still hear it in the title background music and in the overworld music. Since this is 8-bit music and not legitimate instruments making these tunes, Koji Kondo, the composer of Zelda music, had to use a computer program. In an interview, Kondo shared this about the program. It was a Famicom-specific development tool, yes. At the time, whoever was in charge of music also programmed the sound effects. People who joined Nintendo then as composers still had to learn how to program in order to write their music. Considering there was a limit to how big of files they could use for music on the NES, they did an incredible job at making such memorable pieces. Even though this is the only game of Zelda that is called The Legend of Link instead of Zelda, we're here to talk about the music. Just like the first Zelda game, it's all 8-bit and has a lot of the same tunes. 22, so one more than last game. That song being a third flute melody. The title screen in this game uses the same notes as the title screen in the first Zelda game. You can clearly hear the song that we know as the main theme today in this slight remix. Even though we know that the same notes are used in both of these title screens, aka the main theme, even parts of the rhythm are used in this title screen as well. There isn't much more to talk about in this game considering it's very similar to the original Zelda game. However, gameplay is a completely different topic. The original Link to the Past has 26 different tracks throughout the game. The overall theme in this game is the same as the last two games, but has many new and different themes that haven't been heard before. Even though it's still computer sounds, they've evolved a ton. There's more notes being used in a lot of different and difficult rhythms throughout the songs. A song from this game that is talked about a lot and used throughout the newer games is the Princess theme. which was obviously renamed in future games to Zelda's Lullaby. For such a beautiful composition, they did such a good job at showing how legato they wanted this song to come across. Yes, it's still very obviously 8-bitty computer sounds, but it's still beautiful and has such a nostalgic feel to it. This game has a lot of well-structured themes, and it was definitely ahead of its time. This game has 79 different pieces, which is a huge jump from Link to the Past. But it makes sense because this game is all about music and the instruments used to make it. Link's Awakening also marks the first time a song plays with the title on the screen. The whole point of this game is to collect instruments to play the Ballad of the Windfish, wake up the fish, so that Link is able to leave the island. Even later in Majora's Mask, this ballad is played by the Zora's band, the Indigos. This game comes with a lot of great music. There is a very popular song that is talked about a lot to this day that's from this game, Mabe Village. Again, for it being only computer noises, it still is a great listen, and even 8-bit Big Band made this song into a jazz arrangement. I'll link it above and in the description. This game was a huge step up for music used in Zelda games. Although it has one less song than Link's Awakening, that being 78, it was the first game that didn't use computer noises for its songs. This tends to be people's favorite Zelda game, and I can understand why. It was the first Zelda game to be 3D, have more of a storyline, use real instruments for music, and it came out during a lot of people's childhood. This is the first game that calls the princess themes Zelda's Lullaby. This is also the first encounter of the song called Great Fairy Fountain. Probably the most popular song from the Zelda series. It's hard to find someone that hasn't heard this melody before or the name of the song. A lot of popular songs that have been remade for other games come from this game. Gerudo Valley, Song of Storms, Saria's Song, and the Temple of Time. Overall, the soundtrack introduces us to the amazing ideas Koji Kondo has had in his mind for a while, and these songs portray it so beautifully. Also, Ocarina in Italian means little goose, because that's what the instrument sounds like. I feel like this game proves that wrong. Majora's Mask is the first game to cross the 100 songs in a Zelda soundtrack while also introducing us to a lot of well-known titles. Song of Healing, the Clock Town theme, the shop theme, and Inside a House. I know inside a house was in past games, it's just more of the specific theme that is most recognizable. Since Majora's Mask was released just 2 years after Ocarina of Time, and on the same console, of course a lot of music that we know today comes from these games, since it was the first console that allowed Koji Kondo to make such higher quality songs because of the hardware. A lot of this game's music is similar to Ocarina's, but just with far less interesting themes, which is an odd comment to make about music in such a loved Zelda title. Oracle of Seasons/Ages. I'm grouping these two games together because of how similar they are. Amongst these two games, there's 100 songs. A lot of Zelda fans would talk poorly about the soundtrack in these two games. That may be because the songs in these games have nothing interesting going on with them, and also Nintendo decided to go back to their 8-bit style type music, but failed spectacularly. Obviously, that's not what fans wanted after seeing the outcome of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Since these games were released on the Game Boy Color, it limited their resources to make interesting music as they did with Ocarina of Time. However, we have seen that they are able to make decent tunes with such restrictions in earlier games. The music is very bare bones, and it feels like they didn't put any thought or care into making these themes. It's very disappointing, especially since Majora's Mask was released the year before this, and Ocarina of Time was 3 years before. This was such a huge downgrade, and I feel like they could have done so much more with these two games. Or one game. It's kinda confusing. Wind Waker. This game has some great tunes in it. But out of the 133 tracks there are, I really enjoy Dragon Roost Island and the ocean theme. But that is really all there is to it. The other themes in this game aren't that memorable, but that doesn't mean that this is a bad Zelda game. The music just needed some work. At least Nintendo realized their mistakes with the Oracle games and created a new system for this game to be able to have real instruments instead of computer noises for its themes. You really have to dig into all the songs in this game to remember they exist. Four Swords Trilogy. I'm grouping Four Swords Adventure, and the Minish Cap, which is 124 tracks total. Ironically, Four Swords and Four Swords Adventure both have 36 tracks in them. These were all very similar games that were played on the GameCube. The music in these three games have a lot of the same songs we mentioned earlier, like the Underworld theme from the original Legend of Zelda, which is in Four Swords, Zelda theme in Four Swords Adventure, and Great Fairy Fountain in Minish Cap. I think out of these three games, Minish Cap has more going for it and more to talk about. However, Minish Village in this game has its own thing going on and is a new theme we haven't heard before. This theme is fairly good for this game not having many interesting songs. There's not much else to note on these three games, and this is a kind of disappointing time for music in the Zelda series. Twilight Princess. I love this game. But setting that aside, the game has amazing music. Although most of the music in this game is mainly ambience, it still has interesting factors to it and is made up of 144 themes. For example, the Snow Peak Ruins dungeon. This theme really captures the essence of this dungeon. Since it is in the mountains and it's snowing, the instruments used to create this theme make it sound like it's from hitting ice blocks. Another memorable song from this game is Midna's Hour. when she's lying on your back as a wolf and you're running through Hyrule to save her. The piano sounds so distant in sorrow. It fits the situation so nicely and really captures the panic and sadness you feel during this point of the game. Of course, Hyrule Field has great themes day and night in this game. There's a lot of memorable music in this game, and it's mainly the one people bring up in conversation when talking about favorite themes, at least in my experience. This game really shows emotion within its music and is probably the best soundtrack in all of the series. I promise I am not biased. Oh yeah, don't forget Mabe. Hourglass. Sadly, this game doesn't really have any spectacular music besides Lide's back theme, which is only one track out of the other 80. Again, this game doesn't have much going on with it, but it is very similar to Wind Waker's soundtrack. The ocean theme is the same and very well done, it just feels more distorted. Lineback's theme is a theme we haven't heard before and is pretty decent. I feel like Nintendo goes through waves of dropping a soundtrack that is stunning, continuing that same type of music with the game after, and then falling off completely trying to do something different, but rushing through it. Spirit Tracks. This is one of the very first games I played as a kid, and it was on the 3DS. The music in this game really covers the bases of you being on a train for a lot of the game. I enjoy the music in this game, but since it was on the 3DS, it isn't the highest of quality. Some songs, like the Overworld Adventure, are amazing. This song shows just how adventurous this game is and really captures the energy and excitement you must be feeling. Of course, there's other great themes in this game, there's just not much of an evolution from the past game. Skyward Sword. This game is famous for the horrible motion controls, which I actually don't mind. The soundtrack in this game is beautiful. 130 tracks that all hit your heartstrings beautifully. A lot of reoccurring themes, like Inside a House, Fair on Woods, and of course, Zelda's Lullaby. Speaking of which, the main theme from this game, Ballad of the Goddess, is just Zelda's Lullaby backwards. If we take the main statement of Ballad of the Goddesses, and reverse it, you will hear Zelda's Lullaby. This is such an amazing idea from Koji Kondo, who never fails to make such breathtaking songs. Another song from this game that I feel like I should mention is Love in the Air. I mentioned it in my top 10 Zelda songs video, which you should watch after this. I really love this game and its soundtrack. The fact that they used a full orchestra to film these themes makes the music so much more lively, and it gives so many layers. Link Between Worlds. The music in this game is very nostalgic, a lot like Link to the Past, but instead with 95 tracks. However, the title opening to this game is far much cooler than the one in Link to the Past. I love the retro-y feel the music has in this game, but I don't think it lives up to some of the other titles throughout the franchise so far. The music throughout this franchise has increased so much, and this almost feels like a setback. However, since this game was on the 3DS, the music is very good for such a system. We've also seen with Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass on the DS that the music there also isn't the greatest of quality. For a Zelda game that's on a handheld console, this music quality is pretty good. I think Nintendo did as best as they could with what they had on the 3DS and the software with it. And, of course, we have heard worse. Triforce Heroes. I love the intro music to this game, which is the first song you hear out of the 104 tracks in this game. Although it's a Zelda game, this theme feels like a medieval adventure, which I guess fits the Zelda feel. The opening title is very adventurous, and I enjoy how Koji composed this piece. It has such an upbeat and energetic feel right off the bat. It hits you in the face. This whole game also has a very folk music feel to it, which is definitely different from past Zelda games. Those mainly sticking with the more classical and romantic era of music. I think it's cool that Nintendo decided to try something new, and it worked out pretty well. However, the opera singer who comes in during the Drablands Witch caught me completely off guard, and I don't think it fits that well with this type of music. But again, since it's more of a folk music type thing, it reminds me of the Renaissance period, and that was the highest peak of operas. I just don't think it fits well with the Zelda game. Breath of the Wild. This is when Nintendo decides to go back to the more classical side of their music and pull away from the huge difference in Triforce Heroes, while also topping the amount of tracks so far in a Zelda game with 133 different songs. The music in this game is astonishing. The fact it came out in 2017 still boggles my mind. This game has such a high quality sound to it, and the rhythms they came up with for this game are so wonderfully thought out, it really captures the type of game it is. This soundtrack has blown so many people away when it first came out, and I feel like it still does. At least for me, certain themes like the opening theme, Great Plateau theme, and Rito's Village, still moves me to tears. The choice Nintendo made with Breath of the Wild's music having piano as the main instrument throughout the game was a wonderful choice. It really captures this game well, while it being the first open-world Zelda game and one of the biggest releases from Nintendo in a while. Tears of the Kingdom. Even though this game is explained as a bigger DLC to Breath of the Wild, I really feel like the music from this game is its own separate thing. Yes, we hear the Breath of the Wild theme mixed into the Tears of the Kingdom theme, and other themes slightly remixed, but it still captures the whole story throughout the game. The evolution of music from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom was huge, including the highest amount of tracks within a Zelda game, 278 different themes. They expanded their horizons and ideas they had with Breath of the Wild and just added more onto it and it tweaked things around. The boss's themes in this game is what I think are the biggest proof of growth from Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, we have the Divine Beasts. In all of the Divine Beasts, we just had different versions of Calamity Ganon. While those themes were good, Tears of the Kingdom just takes those ideas and makes them 10 times better. An example of this is Kolgoroth's theme. It's one I see get talked a lot about on YouTube, and I couldn't agree more with this piece being one of the best boss themes in this game. Even before you get to Kolgoroth, you can hear the motif that plays in the theme just spread throughout the ambience of the cold winds and mountains. The fact that the music leading up to the huge boss fight slowly builds and reaches the climax as you see Kolgoroth just shows how Koji has improved with the emotion behind the pieces he has composed. Moving away from each game itself, obviously Koji has come a long way from the first Zelda game in 1986 compared to Tears of the Kingdom in 2023. The reason I think the music has improved so much is because of the emotion he has started to put more and more of into it. Now, I'm not saying songs like Princess Theme or Song of Storm didn't have emotion to it, because they did. I'm just pointing out to you guys how much Nintendo themselves has grown with emotion and the ways these beautiful orchestrated pieces were composed. Even throughout the timeline, he has started to explore with more time signatures rather than just 4-4 or 3-4. Even though in Breath of the Wild, Howard's Castle is 5-4, games in the past have actually had crazier time signatures that you probably have never heard before. The Ganon battle theme from Link to the Past is in 7-8, which seems crazy because of how fast the notes are moving, but this time signature works so well in this theme. In 7-8, it feels like the phrases are being cut off and making the music go faster. What's interesting about this time signature is that it can be counted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, while it can also be counted as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. In this song, it's being counted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which makes the song feel like it's trying to get faster, while in reality, it's staying at a steady pace. What's interesting about this time signature is that a Zelda fan creation actually has a song in this same time signature, just being subdivided the different way. The album called Children of Termina, composed by Rosin on YouTube, took inspiration of Zelda music and created this song within the album called The World That Ends in 3 Days. This song shows a great example of how 7-8 can be used, and I recommend you go and check out this entire album. It's amazing. Going ahead of Link to the Past, the song Fairy Flying from Ocarina of Time has a 13-16 time signature, which is a huge jump from 7-8. I don't really know how to explain this time signature, but just take a listen. Obviously, Zelda music has had its up and downs while also experimenting and changing drastically within just a couple of years. I will say each game has a theme or song that will stick with you, but obviously throughout time, those themes tend to go away when something that has more emotion, better rhythms, or even notes take over your mind instead. I think Koji Kondo's music has and always will be amazing. I can't wait to see what kind of music there will be in Echoes of Wisdom and any Zelda games after that.